Alright, so in this video, we're gonna be taking a look at the situation regarding the allegations against Skeppy and the update regarding this situation. So basically, the people who accused Skeppy have now basically taken back what they said. And in this video, I'm gonna be taking a look at this article from Sportskeeda, which covers this situation. So basically, what ended up happening was that two individuals, Csyre and Gaia, I hope I got that right, basically they accused Skeppy of grooming as well as emotional abuse. And these allegations were shared through Google Docs as well as social media posts. And this became a really huge problem for Skeppy. And there was a lot of discourse online regarding these allegations, and people were discussing them and things like that. And basically the major problem with the allegations was that the word grooming had been used. However, the actual things that were described didn't really seem to be on that level, like to justify using that word. And so yeah, from my understanding, that was like the main problem leading up to what's happened now, right? So people were already saying that, hey, look, doesn't really seem like you should be using that word. And the thing about situations like this is that if an allegation like this is true and if it's accurate and whatnot, then the person being accused has basically committed a crime here, right? So this is something that can have legal consequences for the person being accused. In this case, that's Skeppy. And so yeah, it's a pretty serious situation, and situations like this can't be taken lightly. Basically now what's ended up happening is that Kaiya as well as Csyre have basically just retracted what they said and gone back on what they said. So now here's a tweet from Kaiya which is related to this. So it says that, I am writing this to clarify the posts I made about Skeppy between June 26th and June 28th. In the posts, I talked about my experience with Skeppy and how I believe he attempted to pursue a relationship with me. I came to this belief from my own understanding of the events that unfolded. I have since come to realize that this belief is incorrect. I would like to state that I have no knowledge of Skeppy committing any crimes at all. I have deleted all my posts about this discussion and I retract all of my statements in said posts. I deeply apologize for any inconvenience that may have been caused by my posts. Thank you, Kaiya. Alright, so as you just saw right there, Kaiya just straight up retracted what this person had said about Skeppy. And if you really take a look at the kind of wording within this statement, like, dude, this is very sort of legally worded kind of stuff, right? Like, you have the phrase retract all of my statements, so it's very legally worded kind of stuff. And then also there's that thing where this person says in the statement, I would like to state that I have no knowledge of Skeppy committing any crimes at all, right? I have no knowledge of Skeppy. So, with that kind of wording, honestly, man, it feels like someone who was like a lawyer or something like that actually crafted this statement, or at least helped this person craft that statement. Because honestly, man, this isn't how people usually talk online, to be honest. And given this, it might be the case that Skeppy actually took a look at this situation and contacted this person and said, hey, if you don't retract your statements and, you say that you take back what you said, then I might actually take legal action against you because of this. And, this could be defamation, where, you're saying that this person did all these things and this is hurting their reputation. But at the same time, if you're not able to provide the evidence for it and stuff like that, so basically that could count as defamation. You could make that case and then, you could straight up just take them to court over it. And so, yeah, that could become a really serious problem. Trust me, you do not want legal problems in your life. That stuff can get really messy really quick. Now, real quick, I'd like to mention that it would really help me out if you would subscribe, because I am trying to grow this channel, so more subscriptions really help with that. So yeah, now back to the video. Now here I have a screenshot from that article that I mentioned in the beginning. So here it is. It says, Csyre, who had previously promoted Kaiya's document, took accountability for propagating information that, quote-unquote, may have inadvertently been interpreted as fact. And then there's a quote below that, and so it says, I want to take a moment to clarify a recent post I made regarding Skeppy. In sharing my personal experience regarding our relationship and my opinions of others' alleged experiences with Skeppy, I understand that parts of what I shared may have inadvertently been interpreted as fact. This was not my intention. I have removed the original content to avoid any confusion, and I am retracting any statements that could be misinterpreted. And so yeah, once again, with this statement as well, you can see how it's like very legally worded. Like if you think about it, people don't talk like this online. So once again, I am beginning to, suspect that someone who was like a lawyer or someone like that may have like helped in crafting this statement. So, in that sense, yeah, it kind of explains why it's worded the way that it is. And once again, this supports this like theory, you could say, or like the speculation online that after all of these allegations were put out there, Skeppy might have actually like threatened legal action against the accusers, and perhaps saying that, hey, look, I'm gonna sue you for defamation unless you take back what you said, you retract your statements and stuff like that, right? So that could possibly be the case, And of course, it makes sense that if you're in a situation like this, you wouldn't want to end up like with legal trouble and all that over like a bunch of Twitter posts or something that you made, or like some, posts that you made online. You certainly don't want that on your record. It could really cause huge problems for you. And, on this channel recently, we have talked about legal problems and stuff like that. And, once again, even in this situation, the same points can be made that, trust me, you don't want to end up getting dragged into a lawsuit, because that's a serious problem for you. And the thing about lawsuits is that they can straight up drag on and on for like, who knows, like, months, years, stuff like that. So yeah, crazy stuff can happen. And the amount of money that you end up spending is insane too. And think about how the accusers in this situation aren't even that old, right? So as people, like, it's not like they have this whole career behind them and, some high paying job or something where they can even like pay for all those legal expenses. These people are relatively young. And so, being put into that crazy of a situation at such a young age is absolutely insane. At that point, like, you'd have to like go up to your parents or your guardians or something and be like, oh yeah, by the way, hey man, I got myself into a lawsuit. So yeah, now we need to pay a whole bunch of money to lawyers and stuff like that. So yeah, it's really crazy, man. I can't imagine being in that situation at such an age. And then another thing is also how even if you're like a fully grown adult or something, let's say you're like mid-career or something, even then, people like that end up in horrible situations when they get dragged into lawsuits and court-related problems like these. Because, even if you have money and whatnot, even then, dude, like this stuff is really, really expensive. And it can ruin a lot of lives. And so, yeah, it's a pretty serious situation to find yourself in. And, if you're in that kind of situation, if you're about to get into that kind of situation, the smartest thing to do usually is to like, settle or like negotiate with the other party before things get that bad. And, in this situation, in the event that Skeppy actually had like threatened legal action and whatnot, then in that situation, the accusers here just avoided a whole lawsuit, basically, by retracting their statements and, clarifying things. So, yeah, in that sense, this could have potentially been really, really horrible for them, but then, they ended up avoiding that catastrophe, basically. And I think this situation also proves to us that you can't just go around saying whatever you want online and think that there wouldn't be some like really serious real world consequences for those things, right? Like in this situation, you've put forth like this really serious massive accusation, and in this situation it could have easily spiraled into this lawsuit, and so that could have created really serious real world problems outside of just the internet for you. So yeah, keep in mind that in today's day and age, it's not like these social media platforms are just these things online and your real life is separated from it, but rather what you say online can have real world consequences. So yeah guys, those were basically my thoughts on this situation, and now I'm interested in hearing what you think down in the comments below. So let me know what you think about this whole situation, and we can have a discussion down there. And with all that being said guys, this is Alexi, signing out.